Hello, and welcome to our wellness webinar, Fitting in Fitness. My name is Kaylin Alberti, and I will be in the background answering any of your WebEx questions. Please note that as an attendee, you are part of a larger audience. However, due to privacy concerns, we have chosen not to display the number or list of attendees to everyone on the call today. As a reminder, today's call is being recorded. We will be holding a question and answer session at the conclusion of today's presentation. You may ask an online question at any time throughout the presentation. We will do our best to answer all your questions. With that being stated, we invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy today's presentation. I would like to now introduce your presenter for today, Wellness Champion, Sonia Bogues. Sonia, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Kaylin. Welcome to 5 Tips to Fit in Fitness. Thank you for joining me today, and congratulations on taking the first step to fitting more fitness into your lifestyle. In today's presentation, we'll be covering the top fitness barriers that people face when they try to set exercise goals. And then we'll review a simple 5-step solution to overcome those barriers. And as Kaylin previously mentioned, we'll save some time at the end for questions and answers. So to get us started, I'd like to ask you what some of your top fitness barriers are. So for example, if you were to set a goal to go to the gym or walk on your lunch break 3 times per week, what might prevent you from following through on those exercise goals, even though you started with the best of intentions? See if you can identify at least 2 to 3 barriers that come to mind, and jot those down if you have a pen and paper. My guess is that the top fitness barriers that you identified are the same as the ones that most people encounter. Some of the ones that I hear the most are energy, feeling just too tired when it's time to go for that walk or to go to the gym after work. Another one similar to that is motivation. You just don't feel like it when it comes down to going for a walk or going to the gym. Similar but different, not having enough money to perhaps join the newest fitness center to your community or the newest fitness class. And then the biggest barrier that I tend to hear, if you haven't guessed it already, is time. Not having enough time to exercise. With our busy schedules these days, it can seem almost impossible to figure out how we can cram in just one more thing to our busy to-do list. What I'd like you to walk away with from today's presentation is specific action steps that you can start taking right away to fit more fitness into your lifestyle, even though it may seem like these barriers are sometimes working against you. So let's get started with our solution. The first step is to start with just 5 minutes of physical activity each day. And if you're already getting 5 minutes of physical activity each day, see if you can add an additional 5 minutes. The key here is to start small and build up over time so that you can fit fitness into your lifestyle. New research has been showing that sitting for 6 or more hours per day is an independent risk factor for mortality. What that means is, if you sit for 6 or more hours per day, which most of us tend to do when we work in an office, your risk of death increases even if you don't smoke, you have a healthy BMI or body mass index, and you follow the recommended fitness guidelines. So the key here is to move more where you can. And some may find that it's easier to start with 5 minutes, breaking down the recommended 150 minutes per week of moderate physical activity, such as a brisk walk for 30 minutes most days of the week. Breaking it down into 5 minutes and slowly building that up over time can seem like a much easier, more manageable place to get started. And over time, you build the habit. When you build the habit, it's done with consistency. When you were a child, you learned how to brush your teeth in the evening before you went to bed. My guess is that now you don't even have to think about that. The same concept applies to exercise. You start small, and small steps over time lead to big successes and big goal achievement. I had a member whose goal was to get in at least 30 minutes of exercise on the elliptical machine. And for those of you who have ever tried the elliptical machine, that can be a really challenging machine to start with, especially if you're new to exercise. That's the low-impact cardio machine with the foot pedals and the arm handles that move. So you're working a lot of muscle groups at once, and it can be really taxing on your cardiovascular system. So instead of that member getting discouraged, she set a goal to start with just 5 minutes on that elliptical machine every day. And over time, she built her strength and feelings of competence for using the elliptical, and she was able to get to 30 minutes per day. I was thinking about this concept on my run this morning. In the winters, I tend to take off from running, which I don't like the cold, which many of you may be familiar with, so I take my workouts indoors in the wintertime. But then every spring, I have to rebuild that running habit. And it can be hard. I get out of breath. It feels tiring. But I found this morning, 3 weeks or so into it, my breathing felt easier. I was enjoying myself more. My movement felt more fluid. And I was feeling really good about it because I realized that I was building my running habit. I was feeling so good until I saw another jogger running towards me who was much fitter than me, much thinner than me, and much faster than me. But I remembered that I'm starting with where I am today and building over time. So keep that in mind as you start your fitness routine. Start where you are today and build the habit over time. Be creative about where you fit in fitness. I like to stand when I'm talking on the phone. I had a member tell me that she rolls out her stability ball on commercial breaks when she's watching TV at night. So she'll keep it by the television, and then when a commercial break comes on, she'll do some crunches on it or other abdominal exercises. Great, easy way to fit in 5 minutes of physical activity. In your office, I've seen on break some of my coworkers taking the stairs, especially when it rains, or outside walking when the sun is out. I like to do some simple exercises right at my desk because, again, the key is to move those muscles, keep them active throughout the day in little bursts of activity here and there. So let's review a simple at-your-desk fitness routine that you can try the next time that you're at your desk. It's important to talk with your doctor before beginning any exercise program. And if you have any injuries, especially knee injuries or pain, please feel free to sit this one out. Your participation is completely voluntary. We would want to make sure that you're in one piece if you're going to be working on improving your fitness habit. So for those of you who are joining me today, let's get started with the first exercise on the list. I'd like to ask you to stand up. My guess is that you're probably already sitting. So go ahead and stand up, move around a little bit, maybe stretch, take a deep breath, and go ahead and sit back down. You just did a squat. A squat is an excellent multi-joint exercise, meaning that you work multiple muscles all at once in just one movement. So by standing up and then sitting down, you work your quad muscles or your thighs, your hamstrings, which run along the backs of your legs, your glute muscles or your butt, which most of us like to work these days, as well as your hip flexors, which are up at the top of your thighs and are important for walking. So lots of different muscles being worked in just one activity. Let's move on to the second exercise, the seated single leg raise. I'd like to ask you to move a little bit forward in your chair so you have enough room to extend one leg at a time straight out. And I'm going to ask you to sit up nice and straight, torso is tall, shoulders are back and relaxed, and contract your abdominal muscles. Basically, brace your stomach area as though someone were about to punch you. This helps to keep your core nice and strong so that your muscles in your legs are going to be doing the work. And you can rest your arms comfortably in your lap or at your sides. And go ahead and extend your right leg straight out. Heel is on the ground. Left leg stays bent with your foot flat on the floor. So on the right leg, your toes should be pointed up towards the ceiling. Go ahead and slowly raise that leg up to the height of your opposite knee, and then slowly lower it until your heel touches the ground. And then bring it back up and down. We're going to do a few on the right side before we transition to the left side. You want to have a slight bend tends in that right knee, which prevents hyperextension of the knee, which means basically you'd be pushing your leg really straight and putting too much pressure on the knee joint. So slight bend in the right knee. And you should be feeling this in your hip flexor primarily, up at the top of the thigh. And we'll do one more, and then go ahead and switch to the left leg. Again, extend that left leg out, heel on the ground, toes up. Bring that left leg up to the height of your right knee, and then slowly lower it back down, heel touches, and back up. So again, your torso is upright as you're doing these. Abdominal muscles are tight. Breathe. Make sure you're getting oxygen to your working muscles. Maybe you're starting to feel a burn. Your foot should be flexed, meaning that your toes are pointed up towards the ceiling. And we'll do one more on the left leg. Great job. The next exercise on the list, the seated single leg hold and pulse, is a variation of the seated single leg raise. So go ahead and go back to the right leg, extend it out in front of you. And this time you're going to raise that right leg up to the height of your left knee and hold it there with your foot flexed, toes pointed up towards the ceiling. And this is an isometric contraction, meaning that there's no change in the length of your muscle, but you're still working your muscle. And let's add a little pulse, so little movements up and down. This time you're not going all the way up and down. And you should still feel like this exercise is working, similar to the seated single leg raise. And go ahead and release that right leg. We'll do the same thing on the left leg. Bring it up to the height of your right knee. Hold it there for a few seconds, and then add some little pulses. You always want to balance out both sides of your body. If you work the right side, work the left side. And make sure you're still breathing. Torso is upright, abs are contracted, and relax. Nice job. The next exercise, the single arm bicep stretch, is actually more of a stretch. And that's a great way to loosen up your muscles if you're sitting at the computer for long periods of time. So I'm going to ask you from a seated position to go ahead and extend your right arm out in front of you at chest level. Palm is up towards the ceiling. You're going to take your left hand, bring it over to your right hand, and using your left fingers, go ahead and gently pull down towards the floor your right fingers. So you're basically making an upside down stop symbol with your right hand. So your palm is actually going forward now. You should feel the stretch coming up through your wrist, forearm, and bicep, which is in your upper arm area. You want to hold this stretch for approximately 10 to 30 seconds, depending on how much time you have. And let's go ahead and switch to the left arm, sending it out chest level, palm up towards the ceiling. Take your right hand this time, gently pull downward on the fingers of your left hand so that they're pointing down towards the floor. Again, feeling that stretch going up through your arm. And let's take a nice deep breath. Okay, and release that left arm. The last exercise, the core stretch, is going to look very similar to the picture that you see here on the slide. I'm going to ask you to go ahead and stand up one more time. You're going to have the opportunity to get in another squat here. And take both arms up overhead, interlace your fingers together, and push your palms up towards the ceiling. We'll start straight up. You should feel this through your sides, maybe your stomach and low back. And then go ahead and lean to the right side, just like the picture, feeling it more along the side. And back up to the center. And then towards the left side. And back up to the center. Release your arms and go ahead and have a seat. Nice job. Bet you didn't realize that you'd already be getting some fitness in today by participating. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the second step to the solution, which is aim for 2. Once you've started building the habit of getting 5 minutes of physical activity in per day, see if you can add one additional short session. The goal here would be to build up slowly over time. So finding ways that you could get in maybe a few minutes in the morning and a few minutes in the afternoon, or a few minutes in the afternoon and a few minutes in the evening. It's a great way to make sure that you can have the time to fit in more fitness while also preventing chronic disease. And breaking it up into a couple sessions throughout the day also helps to boost your metabolism to help you to burn more calories throughout the day. So a couple of activities that you could consider. would be walking the dog in the morning and then walking on your lunch break, or maybe gardening in the morning and then in the evening with your family playing the Wii Fit. You'd be surprised at how many calories you could burn doing some of those activities. Fun way to include the family. So consider some ways that you could aim for 2 short sessions in your day. And now for the third step to the solution, it's always a great way to boost motivation to try something new and fun to do. Consider, is there a new dance class, such as a Zumba class, that you might like to try? Could you go for a bike ride or try a yoga class? Maybe now's the time to start a garden. An inexpensive way to exercise would be to invest in a hula hoop or a jump rope. And jump roping has the added benefit of preventing osteoporosis because it helps to build your bone density. As always, it's important to check with your doctor before starting any new activity because you wouldn't want to aggravate any injuries that you already have. So consider something new that you could try and invite a family member or a friend to join you. For step 4, consider how you can plan your exercise. This is a great way to increase the success of follow-through. So some things that you would want to consider are when, where, and how. When would it fit into your schedule? When do you have the most energy? I know for me, I'm a morning person, so I like to get my workouts in the morning before I go to work. I find it gives me energy and vigor for the day. If you're a morning person, maybe you could set a goal to start walking in the morning soon after you wake up. Consider where you could go. Can you walk around your neighborhood a couple of blocks? Would you have the time to? Could you walk to a local high school track and go around the track? And consider the logistics, the how that's involved. Would you need to set up childcare in advance? Or could you take your children with you? Would you need to change the day that you run your errands after work if your goal is to go to the gym after work? So consider all of these, the when, the where, and the how. And we all know it's easier when we write it down. It's much easier to remember what we have planned for ourselves. So I invite you to go ahead and make an appointment with yourself to find ways to fit in fitness. And then make it easy for yourself. So for example, if your goal is to walk on your lunch break, bring your sneakers into the office. If your goal is to start walking in the morning, lay your workout clothes out the night before. Put your fitness shoes by your bedroom door so you're more likely to remember. If your goal is to go to the gym after work, make sure you have some water. Prepare snacks so you're not too hungry after work. And invite a friend to join you, or a coworker, or a family member. It's always helpful to have the accountability to follow through. And lastly, for step 5, track it. I've had many members tell me that they were much more successful in reaching their goals when they kept track of their progress. It can be very motivating to see the progress that you're making over time. There are a number of online resources you could use to track your fitness, but a simple notebook or fitness pad works just as well. A pedometer could track your steps. Many of the exercise machines these days, such as the elliptical I mentioned earlier, will track all of these for you. It would just be a matter of jotting it down after your workout. And you can also simply just wear a watch if you go for a walk, or check the time before you leave, and then when you come back, and jot down the number of minutes you went for, and see how you can increase that over time. So to review the 5-step solution, number 1, start with 5 minutes, and if you're already getting 5 minutes, see if you can add an additional 5 minutes. Remember, moving more is the key. Step 2, aim for 2 short sessions. Great way to boost your calorie burn. Step 3, do what you like. Find a new and fun activity to try. Step 4, plan it. This helps with your follow-through. Consider the when, where, and how. And step 5, keep track of it. Consider how you might like to track your fitness workouts. And now I invite you to take a look at the barriers that you jotted down earlier in the session and see if you can identify any new solutions to help you to overcome those barriers. Is there anywhere that you could add an additional 5 minutes of activity to your day? Can you break down your sessions into 2 sessions? Is there a new activity you could try? How can you plan it and how can you track it? But the most important step is to start taking action. So I invite you to start today to find out how you can add at least 5 minutes of physical activity to your day. Now I'd like to turn it over to questions and answers.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sonia. That was absolutely wonderful. We do have some questions submitted from the attendees. The first question that we got is, the question is, it is suggested that we get 150 minutes per week of exercise. How does 2 5-minute sessions equal up to that 150-minute recommendation?
That's a great question. So the goal here is to start with 5 minutes of physical activity and then slowly increase the time, remember, as you build that exercise habit. Moving more, even if it's in short segments of time, keeps your muscles active and helps to reduce mortality risk, especially if you sit for long periods of time throughout the day. So think about getting started with doing something physically active rather than feeling like you have to start with the 150 minutes per week recommendation.
Great. Another question that we got is, if you are doing 15 minutes in the morning, a half an hour at lunch, and a half an hour at night of exercise at the age of 65, what else can you do to help reduce weight?
Another great question. Well, there are 4 fitness variables that you can change in your exercise routine. The first one is frequency, or the number of days per week. The second is intensity, basically whether you're going at a light, moderate, or vigorous pace. The third one is time, or the number of minutes. And the fourth one is type, or the method or mode of exercise. A quick and easy way to remember this is think of the FIT principle, F-I-T-T. Stands for frequency, intensity, time, and type. Because our bodies adapt to the demands that we place on them, it's important to regularly change up at least one of these variables. For example, you might consider trying a different type of exercise, such as biking or swimming if you've already been walking for a while. Or you might consider increasing the intensity, such as how fast you walk. And as always, it's important to check with your doctor before checking your exercise routine. You want to make sure that you don't aggravate any injuries or conditions that you have. Your doctor may also help you to rule out any physical conditions that may be affecting your ability to lose weight.
Great. I think we have time for one more quick question. The last question is very similar to the one that was just asked, but a little different. The question is it good to change your equipment routine every couple of minutes? Meaning, if I'm on a treadmill and I start slow, do I want to start slow, go to fast, incline, fast, slow, etc.?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. That's referred to as interval training, and a lot of new research has been coming out showing excellent benefits to doing interval training. Great benefits for helping to boost your metabolism, lower your weight, and also to improve your cardiovascular endurance, even for all age groups. Again, always important to check with your doctor, but there's a lot of different ways that you can change up the variables as you're on the exercise machine. So if you like to play with the time, you might try going fast for 30 seconds and then slow it down, catch your breath for 60 to 90 seconds, then again speed it up and then slow it down. Or maybe instead you play with the incline, increase the incline and then decrease it. But really listen to your body. If you feel any pain during or after the workout, that means you probably pushed yourself a little too much. So the next time, maybe decrease the incline a little bit, even as you're changing it up throughout your workout. Most important is to listen to your body. But yeah, I think interval training is an excellent tool.
Great. Well, unfortunately, we have run out of time for today. I would like to thank you, Sonia, for being our presenter and offering your expertise to all of our attendees. And I'd like to thank all of our attendees today. We have received a lot of great questions, and Sonia will be answering all questions. And all of the questions, the answers, as well as the recorded webinar from today will be posted to your personal health portal. So thank you and have a wonderful day.